All right. It's the big ideas stage, and we're going to go to the next topic now, which is an important one about philanthropy. So every wave of technical innovation produces its new generation of philanthropists, and that's a topic we're going to be pursuing now with Rhys Lindmark, who is the founder of Roote, which is a non-profit foundation. So take it away.
Ben. Hello, testing. Okay, hello everybody. Can you hear me okay? We got some thumbs up. People in the back, we got a thumbs up. Great. As Ben said, my name is Rhys Lindmark, and I'm going to be chatting about kind of philanthropy 3.0, but which is like what happens when Web 3.0 expands into the rest of the world. But actually, I changed the talk to be what happens when the rebels win Web 3 in 2040. And a bit on me, my name is Rhys. I helped co-found ETH Denver and then taught blockchain ethics at the MIT Media Lab. And I lead this nonprofit startup studio called Roote. And we have a bunch of different projects, including this one on Web3 in society, where we work on a bunch of different projects shaping the future of Web3. And so talking about Web3 in 2040, we can have this, the last photo talking about memes, which was great. And you can think about in 2008, Satoshi posts the Bitcoin white paper, but obviously nothing had happened yet then. But now in 2022, we have all of these things. Elon meme Dogecoin on Twitter. We have the FTX arena. We have $100 billion of total value locked in these DeFi protocols. And casually, SBF, Sam Bankman-Fried of FTX, just casually becomes Biden's second largest donor. So it looks like this, a very small domino to this really big domino today. But in fact, we're only like 10 or 12 years in. And so the question is, what will happen in 2040? And that's what I hope to provide you in this talk. And so we're going to look at the past, web wealth creation events. We're going to look at the present, how crypto wealth is leveraged today. And then we're going to look at the future, this like decentralized solar punk society, aka DSOC. So looking at the past, we've always had these big wealth transitions in society. And so whether it's from Caesar to Andrew Carnegie to Bill Gates to Jeffrey Bezos and now to SBF and CZ, we have this. And the question is, are SBF and CZ is the founder of Binance, are they just a temporary flash in the pan, or are they forerunners of this impending wave of wealth creation? And so to answer that question, we're going to look at this great piece by Paul Graham, the founder of Y Combinator, called How People Get Rich Now. And what he looks at is how in 1892, everybody was getting rich through the Industrial Revolution and industrial technology. And as you can see here, the graph on the far left is in 1892, how people were getting their wealth. And it was all through industrial technology and not very much through inherited wealth. But then, by 1982, 60 of the top 100 people had their wealth inherited their wealth. And only 40 of them got it through industrial technology. But then, in the years from 1980 through today, we've had investing, and we've also had the world of tech. And so now, when we look at this graph, the top 100 wealthiest people, you can see digital tech, it's 30 out of 100 are, Google, Amazon, Facebook, and then 17 are like Buffett and what have you, these new investors in investing. And so, but Paul Graham did not write about cryptocurrencies. And so we're going to combine the fin and tech to look at crypto and look at these two guys, and they are now on the list. So you can see that very small 2 in the top right corner. That is, so out of the top 100 people, 2 of them are now crypto folks. And this looks like a very small thing, but it's actually incredibly important. Not very often do you get a whole new color on this map. And so we can ask, is that going to turn into a bunch of crypto billionaires, or is it just a small amount? And so we can look at the future, and we can see there's this great piece by Tyler Cowen and Balaji and Olaf from Polychain looking at the price of Bitcoin, and if it were to reach 200,000, then they're claiming that about half of the world's billionaires would be crypto billionaires, which is a crazy claim, to be clear. Like that would be really, really ridiculous. And we can look at it and kind of investigate this claim, and we can see that this is the graph of the number of billionaires over time. It's gone from 0 in the past to about 3,000 today. And if you look at the number of trad billionaires, that's the green, and the number of crypto billionaires here is the orange. So you can see in the bottom right there, there's a little 19, which is there are 19 crypto billionaires today, roughly. And so we can see, well, what then would happen in the next 3 years, the next 7 years, if Bitcoin goes to $200,000, and the rest of crypto rises with it. And so if you do the math, and I'm not showing this here, but you would get roughly 400 Bitcoin billionaires, 200 ETH billionaires, and then 200 kind of other billionaires. And so that means that the graph looks roughly like this, where you do have a sizable amount of new billionaires who are these crypto billionaires by 2025 or 2030. And this gives you roughly, it's not half of all crypto billionaires would be, if Bitcoin reaches 200, it's not half of all billionaires are crypto, but it's about 25% of all billionaires would be crypto billionaires. And so what that means is that we get a graph that looks like this, where, yeah, that little orange line that started with SBF and CZ this year is going to get a lot bigger. I think that we can expect, whether it's by 2025 or 2030, there are going to be 20% of all billionaires will be crypto billionaires. So this is a huge wealth creation event. And as a reminder, there's also the long tail. Bitcoin mining in the early 2010s created thousands of millionaires. The ETH ICO created thousands more. And then DeFi has created thousands of degen millionaires as well. So we know Web3 is this huge wealth creation event. How is this new wealth being leveraged today? So to look at that, we're going to look at 3 big categories: companies, philanthropy, and what I call squad wealth. And on the company side, we're going to compare Web 2 to Web 3 to think about the impacts of this new technology. And Web 2, it's all about information. Google's dream is to organize the world's information and make it universally accessible and useful. But then in Web 3, it's all about money, of course. Coinbase's mission is to increase economic freedom, or OpenSea's is to build an open digital economy. And so when we think about it, in Web 3, mission statements are more focused on money instead of information. And the company impact of Web 3 will be a digital economy open to the entire world. So that's what's happening today, is we're building this new open financial system. As that wealth creation happens, we're also, then philanthropy occurs, because there's so much excess capital that can then get put back into the system. And so in Web 2, we saw this happen, where there's the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, Schmidt Futures, the Zuckerberg Initiative, these massive orgs that are funneling money back into the system through philanthropy. And in Web 3, this looks like the FTX Future Fund. So this is Sam Bankman-Fried's new big fund. They're donating $100 million this year. And you can see that in this graph, FTX is the yellow part of the chart, and they have essentially doubled the amount of money that's going to protect future generations from climate change, biotechnology, or existential risk. And so that's what's happening with philanthropy with Web 3. And now we can look at the third point here, which is squad wealth. And you can think of this as what happens when communities start to align around these new financial incentives. And so in Web 2, this was mostly angel-less syndicates. So you have a bunch of early employees to these companies that then are millionaires or tens of millionaires who then put money back into the system. And then in Web 3, though, we kind of take this to the extreme, where every round is a community round, and NFT degens and crypto VCs all kind of ape in together. As an example of this, a great org called Syndicate DAO, which is kind of like angel-less syndicates, but for Web 3. And when they raised their first round, these are 100 different people who got into the round initially as part of this. And so Web3 is more kind of network-based, Twitter-driven than Web2. And also, if you think about this squad wealth, part of it is like investing, but part of it is what to do with the abundance you already have in the philanthropy side. And so what that looks like in Web3 is the world of impact DAOs is probably the easiest meme for this. These are a bunch of Web3 projects that are creating positive externalities. And they're all about giving back. But it's all about, instead of individuals like SBF giving back, it is the kind of community giving back. So you have Gitcoin, which gives money back to open source software, or ClimaDAO, which gives money back to fund the earth, or DeSci, which gives money back to fund science. And I just want to, this is a whole movement that's starting up here, and this is Dylan Field from Figma, who says, some of the best economic returns over the next 20 years will accrue retroactively to those who fund philanthropic, scientific, and public goods efforts. We are on the precipice of figuring out systems to incentivize this behavior in a scalable way. So these new kind of like squad wealth, everybody has enough and then starts to funnel it back in this community way. We're just now starting it. And it was only like a month ago that Optimism introduced maybe the first version of this, where they airdropped a bunch of to their donors, and as you can see at the bottom there, they have Gitcoin donors. So these are people who gave money through a Gitcoin grants rounds to Optimism and are now retroactively being given money in return. So that's what's happening in the present. We have these new Web3 companies all about open financial systems. We have philanthropy with like the FTX Future Fund, and then we have squad wealth, both with these new syndicates and also with these new kind of abundant impact DAOs. So that's today. Now let's ask the final big domino here. What's going to happen in 2040? And I'll just steal the meme here from, this is Pooja in a recent piece that she wrote on DSOC, or a decentralized kind of society. And again, we can take these three themes and kind of project them forward. So for companies, what this is going to look like and what we're seeing the initial bits of are the physical becoming the digital. So what that means is that we have this, we're all kind of memeing over Twitter, and then boom, you have 17,000 people at Consensus here in Austin. We have, Balaji calls this the network state, where you have the network state forming and then is going to push into every acre of land. And there are crypto in Puerto Rico, crypto in the Bahamas, these new decentralized cities, the Cabin Network. There's lots of ways in which the meme sphere is pushing into the physical reality and becoming not just bits, but atoms. And so that's happening. Every person's going to have a decentralized identifier. Every community will have a currency. There are lots and lots of community currency projects up and running now. And then, yeah, this is all meaning that the state will be separate from money going forward. So that's on the company side, is that we're going to push the world of bits into the world of atoms and get into the real world. On the philanthropy side, the first key thing that's going to happen is, in addition to Coinbase giving and the FTX Future Fund, there's going to be tons of other big crypto philanthropies that are going to be happening. And I really like a frame for this from my friend Nadia, who wrote this great piece on idea machines. And the idea here is, you can see in the top there are funders. And so that's a new kind of crypto philanthropist. And then on the left side, there's the community, there's the people. And then what they're doing is they're creating the far right side, which are these outcomes. And so we have seen this already start to happen with some Web2 philanthropists, where they kind of create a new vision of the world and then create a community and just start funding it and funneling money towards it to create these new outcomes around long-termism or something like that. So we're going to see a bunch of new idea machines around Web3 philanthropy. And think about squad wealth as the final bit here. And one side, on the investing side, the hope is that we'll have a crypto CBI. And what that means is, in 1976, not that long ago, Vanguard gave retail investors access to the first stock market index. So it said, hey, all of us out here, we can get part of the gains of what's happening with the stock market. You can just invest and get an index for that. That was a really good, important thing. And in crypto, we're having a similar thing where there are these new indices on top of crypto assets like Coinbase 10 or DeFi Pulse or DeFi or the index, which give you access to the new wealth that's being created. And so the hope is that we're going to get an ownership economy here where the public will collectively own and benefit from Web3 wealth creation. In addition, on kind of the squad wealth side, instead of company mergers and acquisitions, M&A, we're going to see a lot more of like DAO token swaps and shared liquidity pools. So only recently, 5 years ago, the DAO, like the Ethereum DAO, had just failed, and now we have thousands of DAOs in the world, and what they're starting to do with each other are kind of organized as an organic system. And what they do is they have these shared liquidity pools where if like I give you some of my tokens in exchange for some of yours, and then we kind of win if the other person wins. And so these new ecosystem of DAOs starting to spring up and will kind of rise and fall together as this complex adaptive system in this new squad wealth way. And then the final thing that we're going to see, talking about the retroactive public goods funding, is we're going to see a VC ladder, but for nonprofits, or a VC ladder for impact-driven things. And what this means is that we're going to have a seed, a Series A, a Series B, but for nonprofit public goods. So right now, for example, I lead a nonprofit, Roote, and when people give us money, it's not risk-adjusted. We're a new org. And when you're a new org in for-profit world, if you find a really good person, wow, and they become Facebook or whatever, you get massive 100x or 1,000x returns. But nonprofits, that doesn't currently exist. And so we're just now starting to see this new ecosystem built out where nonprofits are going to have a risk-adjusted return where people can invest in early nonprofits and then get paid the line through this retroactive public goods funding based off how early you were in that nonprofit. So to conclude, that's what's happened. It's been 10, 15 years. We went from just a PDF on the internet to massive amounts of capital in the world, and soon to be lots and lots of billionaires that are crypto billionaires. And in the next 20 years, it is going to get even more intense. And you can kind of, this was supposed to be 3 separate slides, but that's okay. You can see at the top, the past, I would expect there to be, by 2030 at the latest, 20% of all billionaires to be crypto billionaires. And then in the present, we can see that we've, on the far left there, we're making this world of open finance with bits. There are these new foundations of philanthropy like FTX. And then finally, there's this new squad wealth style system that people are doing. And then in the future, it's going to go from the world of bits into the world of atoms. The network state will come into the land. And there's going to be, on the philanthropy side, there's going to be tons of new FTX future funds. And then finally, we're going to see this DAO-to-DAO ecosystem kind of rise and fall together through these shared liquidity pools. So when you all think about the future, the thing I want you all to take away is to really think about these 3 categories of what's going to be happening with companies and how is the world of bits starting to go into the world of atoms. Second, to be on the lookout for these new crypto philanthropies as they kind of rise up and these new crypto billionaires are making these massive new funds. And then finally, 3, in my opinion, excitingly, be on the lookout for these new ways that this network-first kind of organism-style squad wealth is kind of sharing resources together to fund these public goods. And so if you want to learn more about this in this amazing solarpunk future that we can create, check out Roote. We have this Web3 and Society Center, which is all about shaping this future for good with all these different projects, especially in the bottom left there, you can see the long view on Web3. That's a lot of stuff we're chatting about today. And if you want to learn more, I'll be out here at the end. So feel free to come by and say hi, or hit me up on Twitter. Check us out at Rhys Lindmark or the Roote. Go to roote.co, or email me. Thank you so much.